Good morning, everybody. Welcome to UC Berkeley. I'm Claire Holmes, Associate Vice Chancellor of Communications and Public Affairs, and we are very, very happy to be here today. I was so happy, in fact, that I got a speeding ticket at 6 a.m., hurrying to get down here. We are very pleased to announce the Nobel Prize winner in economics, and I just would like to say that this is a shining example of the reason why it's so important to support UC. So we're going to start today with some introductions of some of our professors and distinguished faculty. So with that, I'd like to introduce Carla Hesse, who is the Dean of Social Sciences in our College of Letters and Science here at Berkeley and a professor of history. She's a prize-winning scholar whose interests center on modern Europe. She's had 20 years' experience teaching at Berkeley, and among her awards and honors, she's won the prestigious Abby Warburg Prize, which is given to social science scholars and humanities. So welcome, Carla. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire, and I can't say what a great pleasure it is as Professor Williamson's newest dean. In fact, we've never had the pleasure to meet because I'm such a new dean. This is my second month on the job, but what could be more wonderful way to begin the job as Dean of Social Sciences, but with a Nobel Prize in the social sciences. This is the 5th Nobel Prize in economics for this campus. We're moving in there on physics and other distinguished areas of tradition on campus, and we're delighted to join in their ranks. And as you'll see, there are numerous deans who want to say something here today, and I just want to say that that's a testimony to how collaborative the work that Professor Williamson has done here at Berkeley has been, spanning both the economics, field of economics and social sciences, law, and of course, distinguished work at the Haas Business School. So I will turn this over so that others who have much closer relations with Professor Williams can speak. But go Bears, and thank you so much for contributing to our wonderful campus with your wonderful and distinguished work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Christopher Edley, who is the Chair and Dean of the UC Berkeley School of Law, and a distinguished and Honorable William H. Orrick distinguished faculty member. He's a veteran of 2 tours of the White House service and twice that many presidential campaigns, though he still looks quite young. He's played a central role in national politics for more than 3 decades. It's my pleasure to bring up Christopher Edley.
Thank you, Claire. A couple of days ago, I was quite surprised at 5 o'clock in the morning to learn that my former student had won the Nobel Peace Prize. But this morning I was not surprised at all to learn that Ollie Williamson had won this long overdue recognition from the Nobel Committee. I'm here to demonstrate in the flesh the extraordinary breadth of Ollie's contributions. For years he was an anchor in the Jurisprudence and Social Policy program at the law school, a multidisciplinary program. The work that you're going to hear about in a few minutes has deeply informed the work of the law at regulating behavior, of dealing with issues of authority and agency. It really is one of the most glorious things about this campus, that scholars of Professor Williamson's distinction don't live in intellectual silos, but instead share their gifts widely and deeply with so many units on campus, so many students. And Ollie really is an exemplar of that phenomenon. And we at the law school could not be more pleased to lay claim to at least a part of him and to bask in his reflected glory. Congratulations, Ollie.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. I'd like to also introduce two other of our most distinguished faculty here. Richard Lyons, who's the Dean of the Haas School of Business, who took over the deanship in July of 2008 after serving as the Chief Learning Officer at Goldman Sachs in New York for 2 years. Prior to that, he was a finance professor here at the Haas School starting in 1993. And joining Richard is Gerard Roland, who is the chairman of economics at UC Berkeley. He joined the faculty in 2001, and among Professor Roland's awards and honors are the recipient of the Medal of the University of Helsinki, Officer de Lord de Leopold II, and he will fix that when he gets up here. He was also the program chair of the 5th Nobel Symposium in Economics devoted to the economic transition in 1999 to socialism and capitalism. So because of Ali's appointments across the campus, both of them will introduce him and bring him up for you guys to talk to as well.
Thank you, Claire. I'll offer a few thoughts, and then I know Gerard will have a few, and then I might have a couple more. But we will get to the guest of honor, I promise. Berkeley is a multidisciplinary place. It always has been. The kind of connective tissue between the disciplines and between the departments is really part of the DNA of this place. And the professional schools here, the law school, the business school, and other professional schools, are schools where those disciplines come together very, very naturally, very, very fruitfully. In a business school, we have sociologists, we have psychologists, we have political scientists, we have economists, right? Oliver Williamson's work is not only profound, but it spans so much intellectual space, so rigorously, so effectively. Quick thought from the business school, right? When we start thinking about firms and how managers do their work, there are a lot of people on our faculty that think about the formal organization of the firm and why it looks the way it does. And a lot of our faculty that focus on the informal organization of the firm, the culture, the norms and values, the social norms that produce behaviors. Ollie was spanning both of those spaces very, very early on, and you'll hear more about the core of his thoughts. I'll turn it over to Gerard.
So I'm really thrilled to be here, and as chair of the economics department, I have to start with a memory when I was a graduate student, reading the 1975 book by Ollie, Markets and Hierarchies, had a deeply inspiring effect on me. This is, one of the works that sometimes you read and that really inspires you. I must say that Professor Williamson not only made major advances in terms of understanding what is called the boundaries of the firm, which activities take place on the market, which take place inside the firm, which was mentioned today, but more broadly, he is one of the founding fathers of what is called the new institutional economics, and nobody else than him has really made such effort and had such an influence in putting the idea of institutional economics to the forefront. The idea that institutions, the rules of the game in a society, are actually what we have to understand, and which are the underlying element that we need to study in order to analyze economic performance. So contrary to a tradition that was quite long in economics of taking the market as a unit of analysis, he has taken the transaction, that is a transaction between business partners, between agents, as the basis of the analysis, and this helped him build a grandiose theory that has had such a profound influence, not only on those who study the theory of the firm, those who study industrial organization, the theory of contracts, but he has really played a very important role in bringing institutions to the forefront of economic theory. You want to say some?
Thank you, Gerard. A few other quick comments. The influence he has had, let me give you one dimension we haven't mentioned yet, through his graduate students. and the PhD program that we have in business and public policy within the business school, and of course, PhD program within the economics department, profound influence on generations of scholars that came after him. This is an important part of the legacy. As I look out at this group, I'm looking to my right, George Akerlof, another Nobel Prize in economics in the room. I remember a conversation that I had when I was an undergraduate here and just about to graduate, and he counseled and coached me about going on to graduate school in economics. These people have profound influence on young people, and they change their lives, and they create a richer intellectual environment for all of us. Really important to me, really important, I think, to all of us. One last quick comment from my side is the business school faculty member hasn't won a Nobel Prize since 1994. I've been putting a lot of pressure on my faculty, and I'm just delighted that somebody has stepped up and responded the way Oliver has. This award couldn't have gone to a more wonderful person. For those of you that know him, for all of his gifts intellectually, this is one of my favorite people, and I couldn't be happier. Thanks to you very much.
So the fact that Oliver Williamson got the Nobel Prize today, I think, is also a testimony to a certain intellectual atmosphere that we have at Berkeley, and that indeed, you know, also George Akerlof, you know, Dan McFadden, previous recipients of the Nobel Prize. There's something very special about doing research at Berkeley. There's an extremely collegial atmosphere. There's a willingness to challenge existing dogmas. There's a very pragmatic approach, and you know, and there's a great deal of collaboration. And I think these are all great recipes for high-quality economics research. And it's really my pleasure now to introduce the hero of the day, Oliver Williamson.
Well, thank you. Those really moving remarks, and I'm obviously pleased that I have all this support and the the opinions of colleagues that I truly value. That it's a little daunting, but Berkeley is truly a glorious place to have been these last 20 years, and great colleagues and good students. And at one time, actually, I served as chair of the Academic Senate 1995 to 96. And in that connection, I was sort of reflecting on the merits of Berkeley. And of course, its commitment to excellence is so extraordinary. But in addition to being committed to excellence, it's excellence across the length and breadth of the campus. And there was a National Research Council report that came out, and I think it's September of 95, that recorded that of 36 fields in which the Berkeley campus was represented, 35 out of 36 were in the top 10. There was no other university, length and breadth of the country, that had that kind of uniform commitment to excellence. The other thing about Berkeley that I think is extraordinary is the energy that this place communicates. You can't walk around this campus and not get picked up. And you can't sort of talk to colleagues and not sort of share sort of intellectual ideas in a freewheeling fashion that's that's genuine interest of other people's work as well as your own. So it's been great to be here. I've had wonderful students, as Rich referred to, and I'm proud of the work they've done. And I think that this award will. I hope this reward will redound to their satisfaction, I look forward to seeing many of them later today and by phone and at conferences and the like. But there's other people that have been really central to this enterprise as well. And my wife, Dolores, that's sitting here in the front row, has been a stalwart. I don't want to go through, the many changes that movements from one university to another, or to take a research appointment here or do that, but she's been there like a rock, and without her, I just don't think all this would have come together. And we have 5 kids, and the kids have been a joy, and also marvelously adaptable and supportive. So I'm a lucky guy. The Nobel Prize, this is the third in the last 10 years, the 5th since Girard. Nobel Prizes in economics, we have some wonderful young people coming along, and there's more ahead, is all I can sort of assure you of. And I'm certain that George will agree with that that's in prospect. A little bit about some background in people that were important in my career, and these were often just fortuitous. I mean, people didn't have to, but they took an interest in my career, which kind of was from engineering program at MIT as an undergraduate to an MBA at Stanford, a member of the faculty, which steered me into economics, where I had the benefit of meeting and being inspired by Kenneth Arrow, among others, who I only had one course with, but at a conference I attended maybe 20 years later, when Ken was going through the list of students that were at this conference, and he named a series of them, and then he named me as one of his students. And I was really proud of that, because I didn't even think he remembered me. But he explained why he remembered me, and I never really thought of your academic career in this fashion. And he says, you used to ask good questions, and that was what he had in the back of his mind. But I left Stanford to go to Pittsburgh. And a lot of people sort of question what's going on here. But they had a program at Carnegie. There was then Carnegie Tech, since Carnegie Mellon. That was a very interdisciplinary program that I was privileged to be a part of. And I just kind of related immediately to the idea that the social sciences should communicate with one another, and that there were boundaries that we ought to be prepared to cross if and as the phenomena itself reached across it. So I had the benefit of people like Herbert Simon and Jim March and Dick Seiert and Jack Muth and Alan Meltzer and Franco Modigliani, and it was just a cast of characters, the likes of which very hard to put together in a small program such as this was. But I should add another one, Mert Miller. I mean, these 4 of the last people I just named got Nobel Prizes in economics. So but it was just exciting research arena, and I started to appreciate that economics and organization, in fact, could share common ground rather than divide it. And that's been sort of my project since. In the process, I've had good colleagues at every place I've been in, and never more so than here at Berkeley. So it's just an intellectual adventure, and I sort of talk in terms of adaptive sequential decision making as being the way to kind of make your way through puzzle of where to go and what to work on. That's been much of what I've been up to. But there are some common themes, and the common theme that organization matters and can be made susceptible to analysis, I guess, is sort of the bottom line, and is the recurrent issue to which I kind of continuously return. So I don't know if I missed any of this. There are some stories I could tell, but we'll let that go. And, I should hear from others out there, I guess.
So we're happy to open it up to questions. So if anyone would like to start.
Yeah, hi, Glenn Chapman, National France Press. Just curious, given your research about the effect of behavior on markets, and we've just had this great meltdown, what context do you feel your research either should have tuned people into or can tune people into about the behaviors that help contribute to what just happened with the global economy?
Well, let me sort of try to answer in a two-part way. One of which is, I'm a microeconomist, not a macro guy, and I have a lot of good colleagues that work the macro field, and some of them here on campus, some of them currently in Washington, that are better qualified than I to sort of speak to macro economic developments and GNP and inflation and unemployment and the like. That said, I do think that organization is important, and it's made, it's the major impact that my kind of work has had is relates more to issues like antitrust and regulation. But I do, in fact, think that organization is important in a pervasive kind of a way, and in ways that haven't been given much attention, haven't been much researched, but I think can be brought to bear, and I hope will be brought to bear. And there's a conference that's going to be organized next spring that I was recently invited to, and which the idea that organization ought to be applied more systematically to the study of government is one with which I agree, and I've done a little bit of work on it, some of my colleagues have, but more such work should be done. And what it does is it forces you to address issues of a more detailed microanalytic kind than was hitherto the case, so that some of the phenomena that came as a surprise to us, if we had sort of said, well, look, organization is important not merely in the private sector, but also in the way the Treasury is run, the Fed is run, the SEC is run. There's just no question that there are important organizational issues that reside therein, and that with the benefit of a combined economics law, economics and organization perspective, I think that there's the possibility that we could foresee some of the hazards. That is one of the things that this contractual approach attempts to do, is it sort of says, look, if everything goes well, it probably doesn't matter a lot which way you organize, but if things go haywire, that's where the big problems reside, and these shouldn't come as surprises to us. We ought to anticipate some of these and take advanced action to mitigate the worst downside. And that lesson is robust and applies to government agencies. And as a matter of fact, one way, this is too ambitious, but nonetheless, I would suggest that organization is sufficiently important that in addition to having a council of economic advisors, that we should think about having a council of organizational advisors, and that the interaction between the two of them should be active, but I think that there is some specialization that is, in which economics is so predominant that those problems are comfortably located there. There are going to be some others that are so fully organizational in character that, I think an economic approach to these can be brought to bear without sort of saying this is in the fully within the purview of economists. And then there are the interactions, and I don't know how easy it'll be to orchestrate that, but I think the issues are too important to treat to fail to treat in a systematic way.
Sir, Tim Ryan, KCBS Radio. Along the same lines, very few Americans are going to really understand what you have dedicated your career to doing, and congratulations to you. But most Americans, I think, feel that our current economic situation just comes down to greed and corruption and an inept Congress. Now, I know this is a happy day for you, but do you have words that you can share with Americans on what in the world just happened in the last 6 months to our economy? Is it greed?
Well, that there are elements of greed out there. I don't disagree with. But if you start thinking about organizing economic activity through the lens of contract, the main benefits that accrue to contract are those of mutual gain. That is, there are sellers and buyers, and mutual gain is to be realized. And that accrues not merely locally, but spreads to the economy more generally. So I think the idea of being respectful of the benefits, the boundless benefits that have been realized by organizing more intelligently and avoiding excesses of intervention and regulation it's too easy to sort of be hostile and critical, and if you can, or put differently, it is easy to sort of criticize what we have with respect to a hypothetical ideal where everything is frictionless and optimization for the benefit of all rules today. But in practice, we have to sort of describe feasible alternatives. You have to make choices between flawed feasible alternatives. And some of these, if it's the best you can do, let's not climb all over it as though it's, because it has imperfections. If in fact you have, if in fact you can offer improvements, and improvements have been made and can be made, and I think if we proceed with this kind of science of organization, if you will be made more intelligently in the future than they have been in the past. That's what the name of the project is up to. So it's not woe is to us or this system is fundamentally corrupt. It is we've come a long way. We've made some mistakes. Some of them we should have had the intelligence to uncover and avoid, and that's the challenge for the future.
George Ashworth, the Daily Cow. Do you think the so-called post-Fordist trend towards smaller, less vertically integrated businesses will cause the analysis of microeconomics to be more important than, or at least increase the importance of it, versus macroeconomic analysis for national government policymaking?
Well, I'm not in a position to sort of say that it's become more important than macro for decision-making purposes, but it certainly is the case that I think that attention to microeconomic phenomena and recognizing that there are system consequences that accrue there too, and that there are more and less intelligent public policy programs that ought to be informed thereby. that this is, some of this has been accomplished, but we have a long ways to go, and I look forward to deeper knowledge and understanding, and the hope would be that this will influence outcomes. And I think that there's a lot of these things are that is one of the reasons why you may not think that we would have a council of organizational advisors is that politics is really deeply interested, and through that the process of influencing politics through various kinds of influence measures is deeply invested in getting organizational outcomes that they favor. That there are going to be difficulties in trying to implement this. But if at the same time we can display that this particular proposal is seriously flawed in this respect as compared with another alternative, and that people that are making those choices are making choices that are contrary to the public interest, I think that there are benefits that they're going to be confronted with dilemmas that they weren't previously confronted with because the issues hadn't been examined in a comparative organizational way.
Hi, Stephanie Martin, KQED. On a lighter note, how did you find out you won the Nobel?
Well, I found out by I was mentioning this to some people earlier, actually. If you're, and I actually mentioned this to one of your counterparts in the newspaper business earlier today, and that is if you follow the conferences that are organized by the Royal Swedish Academy, this gives you a hint as to what direction their interests are turning. And there's usually about a year delay after the conference to whether or not they actually follow up on this. A year ago, September, there was a conference on economics and organization in a combined way that was held in Stockholm. And there was a background kind of understanding that this might be a preview to things to come. I've been sort of, I mean, they have so-called short lists, and I've been aware that my name was bandied about in that connection. But some of the stuff I do is kind of controversial and not universally accepted as the working within the accepted framework of the economic setup. And so who's to say what's going to eventuate? But that, I suppose, encouraged me to alert my son, who's he and his wife from Poland are visiting with us, that it's conceivable that there'll be a telephone call this morning. If there is, answer the phone. And the phone being in his room rather than our room. And his name actually is Oliver Jr., so if they asked him, are you Oliver Williamson? He could have said yes, but the 3:30 call, he presumed had his father in mind, and he came to me and said, I think this is an accurate quote, I think this is the call. And so I went and answered the call at 3:30 to be told that it was originating in Stockholm under the auspices of the Nobel Foundation, and I had the high honor and privilege of being named a Nobel laureate along with Professor Ostrom at Indiana University.
We're going to just check to see if there's any questions on the phone. We have several
The
people.
conference is no longer in listen-only mode.
Are there any questions from the conference line?
Hello? Hello.
Oh, yes, sir. Question?
Yeah. Rich Miller at Bloomberg. I was wondering what his work would. Am I live or?
Live.
Okay. I'm sorry, Professor. I was wondering what your work might say about regulation in the wake of the crisis. There have been some proposals to maybe break up financial firms or limit their scope so that we don't have this too big to fail problem. What would your sort of research suggest would be the best way forward in that area?
Well, I think that's an important question, and we haven't been really confronted with it before. One of the things that I think of it as a benefit, but it is also a cost of doing transaction cost economics or the economics of governance, is that you need to have a lot of deep knowledge about the phenomenon in question in order to make informed kinds of answers. I think that these kinds of questions could and should come under examination, but I don't think there is no silver bullet. There is no instant answer that I or any of my students or most of my colleagues would be prepared to advance on that. But I think the challenge is very real, and it's more apparent now than it was before, and reinforces the idea that the study of organization ought to be folded into the study of public policy in a more systematic fashion.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, the call isn't coming in very clearly, so I'm not sure if this was addressed already. But, Professor, how much do you think that the financial crisis was on the mind of the Nobel Economics Committee in awarding your prize?
Very little. But I think that's not to say that they're not sort of interested in the issues, but in this particular case, I don't think that figured very prominently on their decision.
Other questions?
Yes, Professor, this is Matt Krupnick with the Bay Area News Group. I'm wondering, what does this say about Berkeley, considering with all the budget cuts and all the talk about the decline in quality possibly coming over the next few years? What are your thoughts on what this means for Berkeley?
Thank you, Matt.
Well, Berkeley is an incredibly resilient university. It has had lots of challenges that it has had to face and deal with in the last 50 years. And I think that the current crisis is maybe unprecedented, probably unprecedented in its severity, but I just cannot imagine that with all the resources on campus and the goodwill on campus and the foresight that one would hope that exists in Sacramento, that they won't recognize that this is a resource, if once squandered, could never be kind of reassembled, and therefore there's a duty not only on our part to hang together through this, but for the state government to step up and finance the university through these times of trouble.
Any further questions?
Professor, what do you plan to do with the prize money?
I haven't digested the prize money in terms of its allocation, but believe me, there are some worthy purposes I have in mind, and I intend to deflect a significant amount of it in their way.
Are there any other benefits to being a Nobel Prize winner?
I think you get to travel a lot if you like to travel. In my particular case, I have a very resistant biological clock, and so there's some real trade-offs that are posed. But no, I mean, I think that you're sort of in the limelight for a day, and then you're back to work or soon thereafter.
Somebody told me you get a parking space.
That's what I'm told too, and I'm looking forward to it. But the chancellor's under the gun to make the good delivery.